Right, guys, welcome back. This is the Above Average FPL podcast. My name's Adam, and as always, I am joined by Baker. It is a wildcard week for both of us, where we need to try and find the players that are going to score points that haven't scored points already, and avoid the ones that have scored points and never going to score points again, or something like that. How are you getting on with that, mate? It's really tough. You know what's really, really tough is that I've done that intro and no one can hear you. That is horrific. That is absolutely horrific. So, good start as always over here at Above Average FPL, but you can definitely hear me. So that's good. Give me 1 second and I will sort this nonsense out. So, yeah, Baker's just going to wave for now, and then we're good. So let me just flick that over and let's see. Just say hello for everyone, Baker.
Hello for everyone. Baker.
Hello. So yeah, as I was saying, how are you getting on with the wildcard week, mate?
Yes, just stupidly tough. Stupidly tough. I mean, I think I've gone through the stages of it. I think when I hit it like the next day, I was like, is this a mistake? Is this a mistake? Because it's not obvious, is it? I think the first thing is straight away is there's loads of players that you're going to get rid of that could score. And we just don't know. You know, it's still early in the season. And then the second thing that happens is you move Mo in, and then you're like, oh, got no money. I've suddenly got no money. And you realise that you haven't had to make a lot of decisions. You really haven't. You know, you might have had to make decisions of which is the player you want, but you could afford them all. And suddenly you can't. And then as the week's gone on, I started thinking, and you weigh up a little bit between, do I make the wild card now that I'm going to want when the majority are going to wild card, or do I make the wild card that I think is going to do really well and then catch up, and then do I go somewhere in between? And I've wavered quite a lot where I am. Still got a few decisions to make. I definitely don't think I'm set, but there's only a couple of decisions now.
Fair enough. Yeah,
have you found it?
Yeah, I mean, I was very much in just the bang the button as hard as possible last week. You know, just pure standard rage wild card. And then I thought, you know what? I'll hit the wild card, I'll make a team, and then I'll chill. And so I did that, and I've been really, really like ridiculously busy at work. Like Mark Southerns can't do black box type busy at work type thing, which is like this one we were supposed to do last night, but I just couldn't do it. And so, you know, I hadn't looked at my team all week, and then I started putting it together last night after I finished, and I was like, oh, actually, this is a bit more difficult than I thought it was going to be. Because as you say, as soon as you put Salah in there, it leads you to making decisions. And I've got, you end up shopping in the sub 7 million bracket of midfielders, and you're like, I'm not sure about this. But there are still some good midfielders in there to have some fun with, at least, which is good.
Really good.
You know, and there's no reason why these guys can't score points. And, you know, there are some favourable fixtures for some. You know, some that are looking like potentially, you know, fixtures might not be an issue. Just a change in, change in scenery for them has been good. And I think you know exactly who I'm talking about there with Mr. Ward-Prowse. So, I think there's options there. I think, you know, you can look at, I trialed with a 3-5-2 and I've trialed with a 3-4-3. I think 3 at the back is like almost dead set now. I think there is option to go either a big 5 in midfield, or you can go 4 in midfield and 3 up top. I think I've managed somewhere in between where I've got at the moment like a 5th midfielder that's good, and the one that I'm willing to play, and also a 3rd striker that I think is good and one that I'm willing to play. So I'm quite happy with that situation. And I'm taking a couple of punts, I think, and I think that suits me. And I think I'm not too I haven't actually been too focused on maybe looking at like game week 9 and seeing what that's going to look like from a wildcard thing and working my way back. Because I think if I wanted a wildcard 9 team, I probably would have just waited and wildcarded in game week 9. Because we don't know what's going to happen in 3 weeks' time, and 3 or 4 weeks' time we're going to have another international break. There could be a whole heap of injuries, and everyone could be moving to the team that we're building right now. I mean, the likelihood of that is whatever it is, because obviously like Villa and Liverpool's fixtures turn, and and whatever. But still, you could be moving towards a team that we sort of have now. So, there's been a lot going on this week, and I think whatever happens this week, even in game week 6, I think I'm quite happy that I've hit the button in the end.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think even if you're not the most adventurous person in the world, the ownerships are going to be very different to the template. I was looking at the top million earlier, and obviously in the top million, Haaland is 99.6% owned. So not effective owned, 99.6% owned. Saka is 85%.
Sorry, what was that last? Who was that last one?
Saka
is 95%.
Saka is 85%.
Oh, 85. Sorry.
Estupinan is 85%.
Yeah.
Matoma is 49%. These are players that Haaland's obviously not making a decision on, but Estupinan's a decision, definite. In there, Matoma's a decision with Brighton's fixtures. Got a great one this weekend, so that's the scary on Brighton, is they've got a great fixture this weekend. Chilwell was 40% owned last week. I think it will be less, but I don't think it'll be that much less. The moves have not been huge. Maddison is 36% owned. Adogi, our boy, is 30% owned. Saliba is 36% owned. Like Gusto, 27% owned. Some of these players are big to take on. Watkins at 23% owned. Bruno, 20% owned. That's that template space. There's a lot of players you're picking that are suddenly going to be sub 50% owned. And even that, if you've got 7 or 8 players that are sub 50% owned, if it works, it's great. If it doesn't work, it can still hurt.
Yeah, I mean, we've had these situations in the past, right, where I think in previous seasons more than anything, where we just go, and I've listened to you many times just go, the template doesn't miss. And you're like, if we have one of those weeks this week where the template doesn't miss, I think this week could be a problem. It could it could hurt, but then again, we may have the players outside of that template that score points. So it may equalize itself somehow, which will be again will be fine. Like if everyone comes out with points, happy days, I guess.
Happy days, yeah. And I think the teams look better almost in maybe week 8 or so. These wildcard ones. I'm not seeing many that are really leaning into the double aim week 7 for a game week 6 wildcard. You'd think normally people would lean into that, but I'm not seeing that. I've hardly seen any Morris. I haven't considered Morris at all. Have you considered Morris at all?
No, not even for a moment.
No,
not even for a moment. I mean, I'm not taking shit players from shit teams. I don't care. You can throw as many fucking. I said last week, you can throw as many fucking darts as you like. I'm not taking shit players from shit teams.
Yeah, I'm
not unless I'm forced to by budget, right? Like a 4 mil defender, like okay, fine.
Yeah.
Archer's a okay player in a bad team, so there's an argument there because he's budget. But why? Like you're talking about 5.5 million on a Morris versus the guy that's basically had as many shots as apart from last week, I guess, but as Haaland, right? And like you've got Edouard there, you've got Alvarez not too far away. There's players down there that are good price, and all the strikers are cheap. Really, you can make sacrifices elsewhere, and all the strikers are cheap.
Yeah,
like because 8 million isn't a thing anymore. There are no 8 million strikers anymore because they've all gone down. I think is that right? Like Jesus is down to 7-9, and like everyone's gone down. I think, which is nuts.
I mean, I personally like you're going to show, and you have considered strikers, but I basically just was like Haaland, Alvarez, Archer. I kind of feel like that's it for me for as long as I can ride it out, and I'm not even looking at them. Wilson, surprisingly, when I looked at it, I was like, Wilson's sounded great, but 7.8 million is actually quite hard to get to.
Yeah, it is tough. It is tough.
That
you need to commit to that. You need to commit to it, right? You need to commit to it. And for me, still Newcastle are only going to be a short-term thing. So this, trying to get on now is trying to take advantage of those that are not wildcarding until 9. I think that's the advantage.
It's tough, that strike world, and it might get easier. Maybe it will, but I'm not sure. So I think if you're not on wildcard, just for reference, this is not an easy one, and it's not going to get much easier because as soon as like yesterday, Botman goes over 4.5, then like if you haven't got him, suddenly it's like, how much do you want to pay for him?
Yeah.
How much do you want to pay for some of these guys? It's tight.
Yep.
Money is definitely tight. What do you
On,
want to do? Do you want?
on
Do you want
that,
to?
well, let's just
Well,
first of all say hello to everyone in the YouTube chat. Hello to you. Good afternoon, good evening, and it's 5:15 in the UK, which means work is done. Well, for most people, if you're not in like the restaurant industry or something like that. So hopefully you've had a good week, and hopefully we're giving you an opportunity to wind down and take in some content, and which we love to do. So good evening. I will just mention a few. If I don't mention all of you, I'm sorry. But FPL Overthinker John, he is in the chat. Jammer's in the chat. Jammer was the above average FPL Cup winner from last year, I believe.
fantastic.
So Jammer's in the chat. Nuisance BS in the chat. Good evening to you. Marcus J at 85. Gary Fitzgerald. GV Submarinian says Baker on mute. Yeah, I did figure that out straight away, and I was saying to him while the lobby was running that he might be, because we forgot to check. So yeah, managed to fix that, and sounds obviously all good now. I'm going to close the poll because it actually gets rid of some of the chat for me, which is a bit annoying. Matt Clark, Multi-Live Evil, hello to you, Sweeney, and hi to Claire and FPL Alexander Arnold. Make sure you hit the like button if you enjoy what you see from us this evening. You know, we're doing two podcasts a week, which is pretty cool, and you know, it's good fun to do. You know, we're gonna have a midweek off coming up, I think, because I'm going to be in Turkey, which might cause a problem at a weekend actually. But I will maybe take some stuff with me on the plane. I don't know whether I can sneak a laptop or something on the
We'll
the
work
plane.
something out.
We'll try and figure something out. Jammer says, love the mug, good man. And so yeah, make sure you hit the like button if you do enjoy what we're doing, and make sure you hit subscribe. That is the best way to support us, and that is the free stuff. So the free stuff is all the stuff that you really want to do. If you do, however, though, want to support us further, we do have Patreon, patreon.com/above average FPL. That'll get you access to the Discord. We play all sorts of little games in there, last man standings, mini leagues, and there's going to be more coming up. There's chats about crypto and so rare and stuff like that as well going on, and obviously all the normal chat around FPL, how your team's looking. You know, again, it's getting bigger, but it's a bit smaller than your normal echo chamber of 300 people in the Discord channel. So it's good to bounce off ideas and have a few people just to, you know, make sense of what you're trying to do, basically. And as a final one, thanks to Dan, Crypto Block Dan. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. We're here because of you, so thanks for all your support as always. And yeah, we've got some. We can look at the fixtures if you want, but I guess fixtures are important for wildcards. And so you know, the interesting one here, really, like just jumping out at you, and just to apologise to maybe those that think that we're leaving off the lower end of the Premier League table here. We're not. They are there: Everton, Burnley, Sheffield United, Luton. But we all know very much. Some of you may pick Luton players, and if you do, then you already know the fixtures. But everyone else doesn't really care. So and Archer looks good in game week 8, and that's about it. So Man U, Newcastle are the two interesting ones.
Yeah, I've and interesting in different ways because, you know, Newcastle, I think this shows their schedule is so good now, and it kind of makes you remind you of just how bad that schedule's been. I'm sure they would rather have had the easy schedule pre-Europe. Well, I don't know. Maybe they wouldn't. Maybe they would have rather had the hard schedule when they also had Europe. How is tricky, and he doesn't give you nothing in press conferences, and we know he's got a history of lying anyway. So we don't know how much we know on rotation. Yeah, I'm not gonna have Trippier. I think I've made that decision now.
Yeah.
But I definitely still want a piece of that defense.
Yeah.
And I want a couple. And I think this is, you know, this has to be the game that you try and make by playing the wild card now, is to try and get on board while you've got the opportunity to at least have 2 bites of this cherry, possibly even 3, and just go at it, because clean sheets are so low. You might be able to just get yourself 10 points minimum in the bag every week, and who knows what else happens. But like you say, can't really trust the attack. Just can't do it, and they're just expensive. So it's defense for me. That's the easy one. Man United, you kind of want to ignore them. You kind of want to, because it just feels like such a pain in terms of what's going through. You saw rumours again today about like they're getting bored of his criticisms and the like, and you're like, God. But I think there's a world where they can still be bad and they still score well. Like you see it in the week, is obviously Bayern score goals, but they also score goals back at that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Rashford for me feels still like the one that I just find it so hard to ignore Rashford. So I've looked and I've ummed and ahed, but Rashford is in.
Yeah, that's fair. I agree. I agree with that.
I considered Reggie.
Did you?
I considered it.
I mean,
4.4.
Yeah, I considered Hoyland. I'm not so fussed about the defense, but I considered Hoyland. But again, it's just a squeeze too far on money for that
It's
third
just a
striker
squeeze too
spot.
far.
Unless you don't go with Alvarez, and I think that's a punt that you probably.
Yeah.
Well, I think actually, if we get something that says Alvarez doesn't play tomorrow, because obviously we're like, do we get the City league? A City on City tomorrow?
Yeah, 3:00. Yeah.
So
We should
City at
get
3:00 tomorrow. So if Alvarez doesn't play tomorrow, I think I could do Alvarez to Hoyland and just and ride it and see what happens.
That's interesting.
Because City get Wolves and they got Arsenal, Brighton, United, right? So I think you can get away. I think you can get away with it. If he's not playing tomorrow, I think you can get away with it.
The funny thing on Alvarez, is if he doesn't play that game tomorrow, you then look at this hop on, hop off, and it's like 2 good fixtures in 9 or something like that.
Yeah, and again, we know it's City, right? We know City, like the hop off bit doesn't really apply for City as such, especially at home.
Yeah,
but in that they got Brighton at home and then Bournemouth at home, fine, but everyone else is away kind of until game week 13, so it's kind of a bit.
I just think the minutes are really, really good for him, and until the minutes are not very good for him, I want Alvarez all day long.
That's it. They're good until they're not good, and we'll find out.
And we'll find out. But I think they are good still. Pep talked about it today. It was like, hey, we have to lean on him. He might not play all the games, but we need him. And I'm like, if I get a leak tomorrow, then it's all good. And if he doesn't, then, well, I'll work it out tomorrow. But I suspect I might even attempt just to stay on him anyway.
Cool. Do we need to talk about Brighton? Like, just generally for people that are... Because, newsflash, neither of us have got any Brighton players.
No, I made the decision yesterday. Before the European game, I made the decision that I was going to take the chance on Noah Stupinian. And I hate it. Not having a Stupinian for this Bournemouth game. But he played nearly 110 minutes. He could play a completely different back line this weekend. I looked at it and he could play a back line of Veltman, Webster, Duncan, Lamptey.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he did that. He could also play all the usual suspects and try and smash them up, because
that's not what he said, is he? Is it?
He said he'll make changes, but when you look at where he could make changes, Gross picked up an injury, so Dahu comes in. Milner picked up an injury, so Veltman comes in, so he's definitely making 2 changes. Ferguson missed out because he's ill, so he comes in, so that's 3 changes.
Yeah.
Dunk missed out, but he said he's back, so there's 4 changes.
Yeah.
He could switch the keepers around if he wants to, but that's already 4 changes. So when he says he makes changes, well, there's 4 really obvious ones anyway. March played 110 minutes. Stupinian played 110 minutes. March and Stupinian are probably the most at risk of the ones that were playing. That not play because they subbed off. And Fatty probably doesn't play, but Ferguson probably comes in for Fatty because he played 110 minutes as well. But look, 4 changes is still a lot.
Yeah.
But we don't know. And God, imagine he doesn't play and then you go on to that dead run. Whereas I think, if you looked at this Newcastle one, would I happily come off Share, for example, in game week 10 to go for that Brighton Fulham game? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah. It's easy. Feels easy to do so. And I don't mind having to find a 0.2, 0.3, whatever to get there. I think that's really easy to do. I don't hate don't
But
hate
yeah,
that at all. So I didn't realise you were just coughing away there.
yeah. Sorry,
That's
I
good.
was coughing, so someone's on mute, so everyone else didn't have to hear it. But yeah, I'm going to go without a Superman. But it's tough. Like I say, if he starts 85% owned against Bournemouth, ugh.
Yeah, it will feel like a problem. But they haven't been the best defensively. They just haven't been the best defensively. So, there's no. I mean, just briefly, let's just talk about the kind of shock that all these boys got in midweek. I mean, Liverpool did a proper European job on Lask, but like Brighton found it tough. Villa found it tough.
And they're probably now going to have to put in more. They're going to have to do this. But Brighton put in a strong team.
Yeah, no
at least
messing
Villa
around.
pulled it off, but Brighton put in a strong team, and it still didn't pay off. So, yeah, for me, it Brighton's a no, and then just get back on game week 10.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Fair.
What about
enough.
Villa? Because there's two good assets on Villa, isn't there? Well, let's work through. Let's work through two here in your minds, because this is still an open decision on mine. Is Cash and Udogie basically the same price?
Yeah.
And the fixtures get better at basically the same time. From game week 8 onwards. It's just, if you have Udogie, you're like, I definitely don't want to play him the next 2 game weeks. But if you have Cash, you're like, if I have to play him, like if he auto subbed on him, or I did have to start him, you still don't really mind it. It's like a degree of worse. I'm currently moving to Cash from Udogie, but when I look at it, I think, I also don't mind the idea that I just keep Udogie.
Well, I'm a very amateurish manager, so I didn't even bother to check the fact that I gained some value in Udogie. So once I'd taken him out on Sunday in absolute anger, I couldn't get him back in because he's just too much now.
I don't think that matters, because he was 4.7. Well, you could do, yeah, if you needed to get him back
4.5
now.
to 4.7, 4.5 to 4.7, sold him to 4.6. I mean, I know it's an extra 0.1, and I could get him in theory, but I now feel like that 0.1 is just going to be like, I just don't want to get him now.
It's weird, the old value stuff.
I can't get him anymore. That's it. He's gone. So
on both of them, on both Cash and Udogie, they're nowhere near on bonus compared to their compatriots. Is their baselines are much lower than the rest of them. I think when I watch Cash, I'm like, he is one of the 3 most likely players to score. I would think when it's Udogie, I feel like he's one of the 6 or 7 more players likely to score. And I think that's the bit that leans me more to Cash, is I just feel like he's really, really in it. And that Brighton game at home, if I need to play him in game week 7, I've got no issue with that, because I suspect, because of his Stupinan and Matoma, they play him right wing.
Yeah.
You'd put someone behind him and play him right wing, wouldn't you?
Paul Spencer is saying in the presser that De Zerbi mentioned Stupinan as being a potential captain. I don't know whether you'd, I mean, that could change things, definitely.
Oh yeah.
I still think I still think I couldn't go there now until game week 10.
Yeah. It's tough. I can just about afford him if I wanted him still. Yeah. But it'd leave me no money at all. And having no money that on a player that I'm then going to stash for definitely don't want to play him for the next 3 game weeks. It's not ideal.
Yeah.
It's not ideal. But I fully understand those that are going in, and I fully understand anyone that's like, I just can't face it. Because he could easily score 20 points, so he'd be 85% owned, and he wipes out all game you get on wildcard.
Yeah, literally everything.
Yeah.
Literally everything. That
that
would be the epitome of just typical FPL, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I know in chat everyone's saying, oh, he didn't play any money last weekend, but he played 110 minutes last night and they play again on Sunday. It's still a deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So any others that we want to look through here? Brentford, interesting.
Is
it kind of just a lock on? Is it kind of just a lock on? Like Bumo is obviously a lock, right, for pretty much everyone. And then Flecken, I guess.
I've been on Flecken the whole time. The only thing on Flecken compared to Raya, previously of Brentford and Raya in general, Raya, there's not enough there. When I'm still not getting the confirmation, I'm sure he is the number one, But it's not for me. And whereas Flecken, I'm like, yeah, the fixtures are still good. They rotate well as well with West Ham in terms of the lesser fixtures. Certainly as you go past that game week sort of 10 period, it works really well with Areola.
So for people, for people listening on audio, just to read out those fixtures. So you'll get Everton, Forest, and then you'll get Newcastle United.
I still won't play him again with 7. I'll still go Everton, then I'll go to Areola home.
Okay, so you go Everton at home, Sheffield United at home, Man United away, Burnley at home, Everton at home, West Ham at home. I guess you take him, then you go Forest at home, Burnley away, Luton at home. And then what's that? Brighton or Spurs?
I don't even know.
Who cares?
Yeah, I think it is.
One of them. And then you've got Sheffield United, and then you've got Wolves, and then you've got United, I guess.
Yeah,
because of the blank. And then so it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
It's a pretty solid run on it. I don't think he's going to become the bonus monster that Raya was. I was looking at him. He's really level in terms of his baseline with Collins, who's pretty good. Pinnock's pretty good. So I think you're going to have some weeks where it works out and some weeks it doesn't. So I don't expect him to just, if they start cleaning, get the similar points to Raya. I don't think that's going to happen because Raya was just way above the defenders around him. But he could do.
Yeah.
He could do.
Okay.
So he's in. Other decisions on here, you look at Palace home to Fulham and then home to Forest in game week 8. And I look at that and, big decision for me, I think, is Diaby versus Eze.
Yeah.
In this world, because I really like Eze. I think he's been really unlucky. I think we know he's on pens. He's on all the set pieces. The idea that he doesn't get returns out of home to Fulham, home to Forest, I find it really hard to believe. But I do think it would take very much for me to move off him. And I do think I'd end up benching him in some weeks. So I definitely don't think I want him come game week 9. I just think with Fulham, with Palace, is against the easier teams, they're great. And against the tougher teams, you don't want Eze because he starts getting deeper. It just doesn't happen. So you've got 2 good games and you've got 3 really bad games in the next 5. So I feel like if you put him in, you're definitely going to want to go to Diaby. And Diaby's not going to be lower than the 6.6 he is. He's only going to go up.
Yeah.
In price. He might go up in price tonight. And so it's a case of, do I take him and go straight now to Diaby rather than necessarily book a transfer? Or do I chase this big haul that I see Eze having in Fulham and Forest? And at the moment, I've slid across to Diaby this afternoon from Eze, but I've been on Eze for most of this week.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's
You're balancing it out, aren't you? So you've got Edouard, but also Diaby.
Yeah. I've also So I'm going either ends of the pitch compared to Eze though, because I've got Anderson in there as well.
We're both currently on Anderson. Is that right?
Are you on him? Did I see you? Did I miss that?
Yeah, I've mucked around with Dan Burn as a triple Newcastle or Anderson.
He just rocks up in funky places at sometimes as well. So he's got that little bit of cheeky additional attacking threat. He just like a weird underlap, and suddenly he's in the box and stuff like that. And he's already had two early goals or 2 late goals in games this season as well. So there's definitely threat there. Palace are historically good defence, so good fixtures.
He's miles clear of the rest of his team in baseline. Yeah. Miles clear. He's had 7 key passes in 5 games. Allen scoring. He's had 7, he's just banging good long balls. So when I look at Dan Burn, and I just want Dan Burn because I want to go triple Newcastle defence, and I'm like, nah, I'm going to go Anderson. And I think he's an easy tick. You leave him there. And if you can pick the easy games for him, so I'm looking at those ones and saying Fulham, Forest, the Burnley, Everton, Luton, West Ham, Bournemouth as well, you'd stash him for a little bit amongst those ones. The easy stash is I can play Kabore in game week 7 ahead of him. So realistically, I feel like I've got 3 good weeks out of him. I'm quite happy with him. And I think the Diaby over Eze thing is almost a little bit like, do I want to double up on Palace?
Yeah,
and
does feel a bit
it
weird.
feels a bit much. Feels a bit much. But yeah, I'm gonna do Anderson. Gay's back. Yeah, so Anderson is in. I'm happy on that one. Diaby Eze at the moment siding on Diaby. And then I guess we should talk about Tottenham.
Yeah. Okay. What do you want to say? Okay. So Spurs have obviously got Arsenal and Liverpool next two. Then follow up that with Luton, Fulham, Palace, Chelsea, Wolves, Villa. Can't see because there's a smear on my screen. Who's that? Is that Man City?
Chelsea's
after Villa is Man City? Probably. Yeah, it must be.
Yes.
City
yes, it is. Yes.
Okay. So yeah. So there's a couple of, no, I wouldn't say rough fixtures. Yeah, rose tinted glasses are definitely on for that. But yeah, two tougher fixtures, and then 4 out of 5. Even the Chelsea game at home, I would consider a good fixture for us. To be fair, so
yeah,
5 good fixtures.
I've had a number of people ask me this week. I can see it immediately going into the chat. But North London derby's on. How are you feeling about North London derby this weekend?
I said this to you at the weekend. I fucking hate this game. I literally hate this game. You can't so if you don't understand it, like if you don't have a team that you follow where there's a rivalry that is just so pure and so vile that you don't quite get it, is that you just cannot enjoy the game. Like the only time you can actually enjoy the fact that the game has happened is once it's happened and you haven't lost. Like that's, I share this YouTube video every single year when it happens, when we play our first game against them, and it's a YouTube video that's literally titled, I hate everything about them. And it's literally in there. It says, you cannot enjoy this game until the game's finished. Yeah. Now, last year was bad. I felt really bad last year. And last year was probably the first year in about 5 where I felt like, we weren't going to win the game. And that was a bit weird because for 5 years, it's been pretty, I think they've had their fair share at the Emirates, and then we've had obviously ours at home.
Yes.
And it's been pretty much like, the home team comes out on top, and that kind of works out for all parties, I guess. There's a bit of pain and there's a bit of joy and stuff. And as much as we'd love 6 points every season, then we'll just settle for 3. It's okay. 3 or 4. If you get 4, that's like, yes, that's perfect. But this season, I'm probably a little bit more confident than I was last year. I think Arsenal have improved. I think we have drastically improved. I just think there's going to be a shit ton of goals because and there always is, really. Like when was the last time this game was 0-0? Genuinely, like I cannot even fathom.
I don't know, but I think everyone feels that way. But I feel like we also feel like it's goals because it's just so hard to predict it. Ange talks so well. We go to the presser, watch him, and he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna go at him." That's what we do. And I'm like, oh, Ange, I want all my players still. And then I think about it back and I think, oh yeah, but we lose there every season. And Saka's been incredible. And I'm like, oh, I want Saka. I don't want our guys at all. I just don't know. I just don't know how this plays out. And I'm still not 100%. I've been trying to play through in my brain. I really wanted to keep Son this week. I really wanted to keep him. I'm okay and letting Maddison go, mainly because I feel like he's going to work so hard for the team. I mean, he was such a lead. I think he's going to work so hard for the team that he's next to. Whether that translates to points or not, I don't know. If it does, I love him so much. I won't care anyway. And I think there is that bit of hedging of me thinking, well, I might just abandon Tottenham for the next 2 games because I'll be happy if we get results anyway. Lose situation. But I just don't 100% know who the right asset is still.
The last time this game was 0-0 was the 8th of February, 2009.
Yes. It's not going to be 0 now. It's not going to be 0 now.
Yeah.
So I don't like playing. I wouldn't play defenders in this. I'd find ways to bench them if I could. If you are going to play someone, the Arsenal centre backs, I think, are still a reasonable play. We do not have many tall guys in our team.
No.
And So I do think we're still vulnerable to set pieces. Um, Gabriel or Saliba, if you've got them, Gabriel in particular, I think is is a good play this week.
I mean, oddly, both teams are middle of the range, right? For like we're middle of the range for, we're sort of both middle of the range for set piece XG, and we're both kind of middle of the range for.
Yeah, we're not set piece Spurs now.
No, and we're sort of middle of the range for conceding as well. Arsenal pretty good at not conceding many chances from set pieces, which leads me to think that we won't create too much from there, even though so from that, if you're looking at Maddison, for example, I mean, that may be a limited route to a point. Like what was a route to points last week may not be a route to points this week necessarily.
I do. But you wouldn't be surprised. You wouldn't be surprised if an Arsenal defender, Arsenal centre back, got ahead of this week. It really wouldn't. Yeah. Tottenham's a hard play. A hard play for us to just doing that, and it's going to be a hard play against Liverpool as well. That's the case going forward. Son, I've seen some reports and predictions that Son stays up. I've seen some predictions that say Son plays up top and we finish the game like we start the game like we finished the last one, with Johnson out on the right and Kulusevski as the right 8. I don't see that. I think it's more likely that Son goes to the left. You can't trust Manor Solomon against White and Saka.
Yeah,
Son goes over there, and Richie comes back up top and makes a nuisance of himself. And I think what we'll really want is, if Zinchenko's playing, we'll want Johnson to attack Zinchenko late on, or force that substitution if Tomiyasu on for him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's how we'll see it. Because what you really want, you want Kulusevski running at the left-footed Zinchenko, and then you want Johnson going outside the right-footed Tomiyasu.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that sounds
that makes much more sense. But yeah, I wouldn't sell Maddison if you had him this week. But I'm not keeping him on wildcard either.
Yeah.
So I think that means that I'm going to be without. I haven't sold Son yet. I have sold Maddison. So I've taken the value and gone on that one. So I've made my bed there. I haven't sold Son yet. And we'll see how I feel in the morning, because I don't think Rashford's definitely not going up. He might go down again, but he ain't going up. So he's in a placeholder in my team. Oh, we're moving on to my team.
I'm moving on, mate. We're 40 minutes in, so we've probably got like 5 or so minutes before I get shouted at by the other half, because she's there now home.
Yeah.
So we've got to sort dinner, and you need to go out for dinner.
Go on it. I do need to go out for dinner as well. Yeah.
Let's talk about teams. So Nick's asked quickly about how about Edouard. Well, you'll see in a few minutes.
You'll see.
And Nor just asked a quick question: would you start Kabor over Saliba? Is it Kabor or no? It's Kabore, isn't it? Yeah, no, it's Kabore,
isn't it? They got Wolves, haven't they?
They have got Wolves, yes.
I saw we haven't done 11 or 5 charts and stuff, but I think he was about a 30-odd% chance this week.
On a clean?
Yeah, it was a lot better than I expected to be. Yeah, look, 35% chance Luton on the clean this week.
Yeah, that's I don't believe a word of that.
Yeah, but would I do that over?
Like I would. You'd definitely punt on Neto, wouldn't you? This week. Look. Let's call it a free hit, right?
Yeah.
Would you punt on Neto? Like you punt on Neto this week?
Yeah, probably would. Yeah, probably would.
There's no chance. There's no chance you're picking Kabore for a clean sheet. So we can just nip that one in the bud.
All right.
But he said there is saying the 2 big chances.
I think if we hadn't wildcarded, we'd have benched Saliba for Kabore.
100%. Like without even a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt.
Would I recommend someone else to? Probably not.
I'd have probably kept Saka just in case. But I would have wanted him to get red carded and score an own goal before he does, and then Arsenal to concede 9, so he's on like minus whatever it is. Back to your team.
Back to my team.
So read it out for all the people listening.
Fleck and Areola in goal. Done. Cher, Anderson, Botman, Kabore, Cash. The 2 that in there that haven't been confirmed yet is Cash and Cher, who are currently Really, underneath it are Estupiñán and Udogie. I've got money in, so just in case I don't end up doing that way, then I've just left it as placeholders and I'll just keep moving around till tomorrow. Then Diaby, Saka, Rashford, Salah, Bumo, Alvarez, Haaland, Archer.
Is that the right one? Yeah, because we.
Yeah, that's the one I was mucking around with. If I was to keep Son, then I think I'd push on Eze, was what I was looking at earlier, because there's only so many transfers you can look to play going forward. But as soon as I take all the Spurs out, I'm going to want Spurs in 8.
Yeah.
So let's have a team that I look at and think, yeah, that's fine. I've got 0.3 in the bank here on this. I actually have been pretty fortunate, I think, compared to most on this, in that I seem to have a little bit more money than most. So I've still got a little bit of wiggle room. I've got 0.3, which covers me either, say, for example, getting back an Udogie or getting back an Estupiñán in a couple of weeks, or another small move somewhere else. I can go Rashford straight to Son if the Man United wheels fully fall off.
Fair enough.
Oh, I can do something with Saka.
Fair enough. So then moving on to my wildcard team as it stands at the moment, I have 0.6 million in the bank. I can't get to the team that you have. I'm about 0.5 million short, or 0.4 million short. So that was a struggle.
I don't know what I've done to get there with that, but it's been fortunate.
Well, Estupiñán helps.
Yeah,
I haven't had a Estupiñán all season, so that probably helps. Others I'm not too sure, but yeah, I've got Pope and Areola as my 2 keepers, so I'm going all in on Newcastle.
Triple up. Yes.
All in. Let's
I love it.
Let's go. I went all in on Chelsea last season, game week 8. I'm going all in on Newcastle this season, game week 6. So my defence is Joachim Anderson, Botman, Cher, Cash, and Kabore. So it's weird. I'm having to read like team and bench here so that everyone gets a.
So we've got the same back 5. Same back 5?
Yes, same back 5. Same back 5. I'm pretty happy with this. I mean, I can't get to Trippier with just 0.6 in the bank. That rules out people like Robbo in the future as well. So, I'm kind of swerving Liverpool defence here. The only option I guess I would have is if Newcastle do really shit the bed, I could go Pope to Alisson. Like, that's literally like the only thing I could do if they really do shit the bed.
Or to anyone.
Or to
anyone. That's the good thing about doing it. It's one of the reasons why I didn't like the old like Turner and Areola carry on, was like, if I want to go somewhere, I've got a card. Where am I going to find it from? So I was like, at least if I've got Flecken at 4.5, and he's likely to go up tonight, looks like 4.6 by tomorrow. Then maybe you get a couple of extra ones in it. Then you're like, well, I can get across. But Pope, solid, isn't it?
Yeah,
and he was good when he was really good against Milan.
Incredibly good. Yeah, like needed to be. Like he needed to be as well.
That was his best game, I think, in a seriously long time. One of it just comes off the back of a clean sheet that he just had, but that was easily the best game I've seen him for a long time.
Yeah. So my midfield is Diaby, Bumo, Rashford, Salah, and I've got Ward-Prowse warming my bench at the moment. Now, who was I talking to? I was talking to someone earlier about what I could do if I wanted to improve my striker, maybe, or increase the value of my striker. I think Ward-Prowse would have to be the make way. But at the moment, my strike force is Haaland, Alvarez, and Edouard. So really looking to take advantage of the fact that Edouard's just pumping shots, and we've got Fulham and Forest in the next 3. And then I can do pretty much what I want from there. I can either leave Edouard where he is, and move Alvarez in game week 8, or I can move Edouard down to Archer if Alvarez just still looks like a great asset. So I've got flexibility there, and I can free up a little bit of money. I had considered going Edouard to Højlund, which I think is a bit punty. I do like United for the next few weeks, attacking wise. I think there's going to be points there, and I think Højlund's going to be the one that's going to drive it. I just wish I could be that brave on that one. I don't think I'm brave enough to do that there. But Edouard and Diaby's fine, and Ward-Prowse is fine. I think Ward-Prowse would probably have to be sacrificed, and then Diaby would come he would become the 4th midfielder. Like here, I could even just play Ward-Prowse against Liverpool. I don't think there's anything wrong with that either.
No,
You know, he's already proven
no.
against Brighton, City, and Chelsea that, you know, he's assisted. He's returned every game this season. Like, he's returned every game this season that he's played.
Every team in the world gets set pieces at some point during every game, so he's
And
always in with a chance.
he's the best at them. Like, he's
Yes,
literally the best at them.
with a load of big boys to aim at. What I like with that one with the double Palace is that you have perfect rotation for 7, and you can just bring Ward-Prowse and Kabore on, one with a double and one with Sheffield United.
Easy.
So you have, you know, with quite low value, it's a good way. Yeah. We're a lot closer. This hasn't looked close all week, but now I've played it through, I'm like, actually, we've got 4 midfielders the same. And then I've got...
We haven't spoken about this at all. We haven't spoken until half an hour, maybe, until about an hour ago. I don't think either of us knew what our teams were going to be. I think you knew I was going triple Newcastle defence, because I think we kind of just figured that. But
like, you were adamant, I'm just doing Pope and I'm not even thinking about it. So I knew Pope was coming in. I knew you was going to just load up on that. But we're a lot closer than I thought we would be. I don't know if that's good or bad, but
I'm still chasing you. So I'm still chasing for about the 4th season in a row.
Yeah, we haven't. Well, I kind of hope you beat me, because realistically this week it's Edouard versus Saka.
Yeah.
So
you actually
considerably.
Good.
And then Pope v, and I hope Pope does really well, because I got double defence. So
yeah, exactly.
Yes, I hope you do really well for me.
So Nor says disappointed to see no Taiwo. Yeah, Forest attack just isn't good enough. Just generally as an attack, I just can't trust it. Manon says, where's Wilson? I think we covered that earlier on, in just that.
Tough.
I would love to have Wilson, actually. I would probably prefer to have Wilson over Share, but I just can't be confident enough to make that work. Just can't.
Honestly,
I just can't do
it. If you haven't done it, just do a draft tonight of what you do on Wildcard, and then you'll see it's tough. You know, I said it earlier in the week, but I'll say it again. If you're making transfers this week and you haven't used your Wildcard, I would genuinely be making transfers towards your Wildcard rather than any old player get them out. Yeah. So I would get players like Botman. I would get players like Alvarez. I would get players. Maybe I won't go Diaby this time, but if you haven't got Mbumo, I would be going Mbumo. You know, those are players that I would be moving towards. I wouldn't be like, 1 week punt, get out of this, because it's so got to pay. It's so got to pay if you want to take punts on ones that are not going to be featured in wildcards in the next few weeks, because it's tough.
It's tough. I've taken, like, last 2 weeks because I kind of was going to thinking about wildcard in game week 5, ended up wildcard in game week 6. So both Bowen and Son were both 1 week punts.
Yeah.
And that's really tough. I mean, obviously I took 2 points from Son and 7 from Bowen. I mean, it's okay, but it's not wonderful. You know, you're hoping for double digits from at least one of them. So it's not quite quite perfect, but we're at 50 minutes, mate. I think we need to try and...
We need to get out of here. The only thing, if anyone really wanted to push for Wilson, would be if they had huge amount of faith in either Watkins or Darwin, and were like, I'm going to go 3 up top, and I want to go there to there. If you can do that, if you want to do that, but, you know, FPL villain, who very good in the Villa world, is interestingly, he said, you know, first time he ever feels that Watkins is not nailed. And I'm like, wow, like he said, like a 65% chance he'd give him the start split. I was like, really? And I was like, that surprises me, you know, as being a potential, you know, just not quite on it. Like I think we've got the impression that everyone else around the team is firing, and it's not really that Watkins is not firing as well. But really interesting to hear that kind of opinion. And Darwin with the tightness, with all the option attack, I'm not convinced I end up with that money there. So can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at Play Sharper now. I don't know whether you've used Play Sharper before, but it's a lineup predictor tool that people use for FPL, for So Rare, and for Ultimate Champions. And there's some experts that, you know, it is one person's predicted lineup, but they do provide like percentages about how they feel that teams are going to set up. They've got Watkins in at 75%, with
I mean,
John with John
that's not as
Duran.
high as you'd want it, is
No,
it?
with Duran just sitting right behind him at 25%. So it looks like it's going to be 2 from 3 from Duran, Diaby, and Watkins. And that's kind of the feeling there as well.
Very interesting. But makes me think even more that Diaby is probably the main man, and that's helps me lean into it. So on that note, I think we're about there.
I think we are there. I think we're there. I think I'm not. Yeah, I think I'm less inclined to move away from Edouard actually now. I think I'm more inclined just to keep him there and go with the sort of Diaby. Whether I start Diaby or whether I start Ward-Prowse.
Cash?
Nah, Cash is benched, and that's probably part of it actually as well. I mean, like Chelsea have had a whole week to prepare for this game as well, and obviously Villa have played. What was the score last night? They lost, didn't they? They lost 3-2 or something.
3-2, yeah.
Yeah. So, they're finding, obviously, as I said earlier, now these teams are finding it tough now going into Europe for the first time in God knows how long. They actually realise that actually these teams aren't terrible. They're not all just farmers, and they do make you run around.
Especially not in their own backyard. That's the thing on Villa, is that they're going there, and that's the bit that I've weighed up on all week. Is like, I'm picking the guy who has a worse fixture and played in midweek over picking Eze, who's got this great home game. Yeah. Maybe it'll play my mind again. I'll have a look at it again later. But you know fully well if a Diaby's in the team, if he goes up in price tonight, that makes the decision so ridiculous how much it rules you.
Because his effective ownership will just be higher, won't it, as well? So you just know it will be because there's so many transfers. Anything else you want to say, mate, before I close it out? No.
We'll get into merch. Best place you want to get that is join our Patreon. I'll demonstrate some merch if anyone's involved. Look, we've got these little coasters and
poker chips.
We have t-shirts.
We got t-shirts. We got mugs. We got what else? We got stickers and all sorts of stuff.
There's
coming.
Glassware coming.
Brand
above average FPL's coming. So
it's all good. It's all good. So big shout out to everyone who's joined us in the stream. Almost 350 of you. So thank you very much for joining us. If you're going to do one thing on your way out, make sure you do hit that like button. It would be absolutely fantastic. Really appreciate it. If you want to see more from us, hit subscribe. We'll be back on Sunday with the Game Week review. Who knows how we'll be feeling after the North London Derby. Who knows how we'll be feeling after FPL. And the 2:00 games on Sunday, expect very limited analysis and feedback and opinions on those games, because we will basically be watching the goals and looking at the data and heat maps and stuff, and that's about it. But come and join us for the fun, come and join us for the pain, and just come and join us Sunday, and we will speak to you then.
Do you think we'll be more popular if we lose or if we win on Sunday?
Definitely if we lose.
Definitely if we lose.
Because we're going to be fucking unbearable if we win. That is the thing. And I promise you that. I absolutely promise you that. I promise you that. Right, mate. Have a good dinner. I'll speak to you later.
See you later.
Cheers, guys.